Hello, I'm Surf, and I'm going to tell you there's a simple second-level spell solution to bypass the problems of being born blind or without eyes. Have a blind cave newt friend that your druid friend wishes they could show the world to. Fantastic! Let them know that they have access to a spell that would let them do that. If your character knows enough about magic, of course. Darkvision is a spell that artificers, druids, rangers, sorcerers, and wizards get. I don't think I've seen this spell used once, even for the 2 or 3 player races that don't have Darkvision innately. But how could a spell that gives sight cure blindness? Wow, that seems really silly to say now. Well, it starts with the fact that there is no normal vision in 5e. Astounding, isn't it? What is normal vision? Well, there doesn't seem to be an exact. However, there are things that constitute normal vision. This can all be found on page 183 of the player's handbook. Bright light lets creatures see normally. This is a broad stroke that encompasses everything unless otherwise specified. Continuing on, dim light causes the area to be lightly obscured. That is another variable condition that will not come into play here. Lastly, darkness is considered heavily obscured. This, detailed on the same page, effectively puts the creature under the blinded condition. This sets a small precedent that heavy obscuration implies that creatures affected by it are under the blinded condition. Wonderful. This establishes that there is no normal vision. There is a blanket rule of laws that the average creature follows unless it is again otherwise specified. So, anytime I reference normal vision from here on is only referencing the average creature population and not a type of vision. Now, we're on to what dark vision would be. We won't be doing this with every type of sense listed, but the reason we go over this is because there is a fundamental difference between the average vision and dark vision. First and foremost, creatures who would follow the rules of dark vision do so because they have something called dark vision. Within the rules and light rules, it is a trait given to creatures, unlike normal vision. A creature with dark vision has their normal light rules augmented. This creature can now see darkness as though it is a dim light. Dim light is now effectively bright light. And finally, darkness can be seen as though it is dim light. Now, a big note here is that no monsters list anything along the lines of normal vision. Even in the Dungeon Master's Guide on the creation of monsters on page 279, step 19, there is no reference to a default or normal vision. As an aside, one would think that a sight defying all of our current understanding of light-based vision to see in a void of light would be magical in nature. Like a creature with dark vision would be able to be put in an airtight steel box with no light and still be able to see the walls in their hands. Have you ever been in a cave with just no light at all? It's not at all like closing your eyes. You can't even see the bridge of your nose. It's disorienting a little. Just thought it was interesting that a character with dark vision could never be able to experience true darkness. Anyhow, blind sight is specifically stated under vision and light rules to be used by things that do not have sight and have either developed through the blind fighting style in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything on page 41, or are naturally born with it. Although blind fighting does not specify, it is usually considered to be utilized through hearing. By the blind sight passage, it is a sense used by a creature who can perceive its surroundings while not relying on sight. Now, on to the blind condition. A creature that has lost its sight does not automatically gain the blind condition. However, the blind condition does remove a creature's sight as part of it. Page 289 of the player's handbook references that the blind condition can be the result of an impairment. Of course, it would make sense that a man with his eyes removed would have the blind condition. The lack of eyes does not give a creature the blind condition, nor does the lack of dark vision. It is simply implied. A creature with tremor sense alone cannot be blinded, noting that it only does not experience the world through its eyes. This means that imposing the blinded condition would remove something that it does not have. As a result, blindness is not the natural state of something. However, it is an unnatural state as a result of a complication, impairment, or outside force. Therefore, if one were to remove those complications or the outside force, the blind condition would have no implied reason of being on the creature or affecting the creature. Darkvision, the spell, is found on page 230 of the player's handbook and simply states the following, word for word. You touch a willing creature to grant it the ability to see in the dark. For the duration, that creature has dark vision out to a range of 60 feet. The only prerequisite to this spell is that the target must both be a creature and willing to have the spell cast on it. The creature does not need the ability to see beforehand, as a few other spells require. It is a simple and very straightforward spell. Is it a creature and does it consent? Then it can now see in the dark, even if it had dark vision before. We're getting into deductions and theoreticals now, so pardon, but if a creature were to not have sight and a spell was cast on them to give them tremor sense or true sight, as an example, it does not matter if they have the organs for it or not. However temporary, the spell would provide for that organic deficiency. So if a spell that gave a sense and even shares this transmutation school with the regeneration spell that allows for the regeneration of lost limbs was cast, then the presence of the implied blind condition is no longer applicable. However you want to slice it, it is through the DM's and the player's imagination that the creature grows or repairs its eyes, develops photosensitive receptors, or even if it is entirely magic that translates the environment around them through some sort of visor, and there is no physical change. It is transmutation, handling the conversion of light energy to electrical signals for a creature's brain is well within its purview. By the same logic, a creature blinded through the blindness deafness spell could also receive the dark vision spell to counteract it. That would mean that the second level spell dark vision would counteract the second level spell blindness deafness without the use of the second level spell lesser restoration. In a pinch, of course, wizards, I guess, are the only ones that would have that problem. In conclusion, this was a mess. I never should have pushed to prove something that in the end just comes down to the discretion between a player and DMs. It's better to do a sick flip or two off the tap bar that are the rules than make yourself dizzy spinning in circles. Gymnastics joke for the huge crowd that I know are into that. If you have a funny or neat interaction with abilities and rules in your imagination-based tabletop game, just talk to your DM about it. There's no need to run these rule circles around each other. Anyway, thank you for listening. I hope this was something that could be understood.